Let me ask you this. Are you sick and tired of feeling trapped in the rat race of life? Constantly doing, producing, striving, and chasing? Do you feel exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed, and burnt out from constantly having to be on? Here's the truth. We live in a society and a culture that values hustle over harmony, busyness over presence, and production over peace. But what if there was another way? What if there was a way in which we could live, create, and work that felt good in our body, that nourished our nervous system, and that was in the same rhythm of ourselves and of Earth? In this video, I'm going to break down how we've all been conditioned and programmed to tie our worth to our productivity, why burnout and disconnection is at an all-time high, and how we can truly shift from survival mode into a place of thriving where we are regulated and in an inspired, joyful, creative, alive state of being. And of course, if this message resonates with you, make sure to subscribe to my channel, to hit the like button, and drop a comment below this video on your reflections and how you're redefining the way in which you live, work, and create. All right, guys, this is going to be a powerful transmission today. I'm feeling deeply inspired and really excited to dive into this topic. And earlier this week, I was meditating on what message I really wanted to bring forth. And it became very clear that I really needed to talk about this entire subject and realm of how we live, create, and work in the world, because it has become quite skewed. And it's clearly not working for anybody, including myself. And having gone through this meditation, this contemplation, I have to reflect on the ways in which I'm still in this dysregulated state of having to prove myself or validate myself or perform here or do this and do that. It really brought me deep into my own personal experience, which I'm going to share more in a little bit. But really, we need to set and create the bigger context and picture here and really tie this all together. You know, from an early age, from childhood, we are taught by our parents, by our teachers, by our peers that our value, our worth, our security, our safety comes from what we do, from how we produce, from how we perform. And this creates this inner narrative in which we are very much in a mode of forcing, controlling, chasing, striving, hustling, grinding. You know, school in general, if we actually tie it back, which we could do a whole nother episode in this, but how and why schools were created. And I specifically am talking about the public school system, which I don't believe, sure, it has its value. And it has certain things in which, you know, being a product and a prodigy of the public school system, it definitely has some benefits. But overall, you know, schools aren't teaching us how to regulate our nervous systems, how to be more emotionally intelligent, how to listen to our bodies, how to work with our breath, how to trust our intuition. No, 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 no. School teaches us how to conform and how to compete. We learn all of these different subjects, much of which we don't actually apply and use in our lives. But through learning these subjects, through testing through these subjects, we are basically put into this ranking system in which we receive an A, a B, a C, a D, an F, in which we are constantly in comparison to our fellow peers and the students around us. And this just over time, over many years, creates this deep level of conditioning and programming. Then, of course, we add on top of that in this modern world where we have social media that takes this conditioning to a whole nother level, where we get stuck in dopamine loops and comparison spirals and constant stimulation. And we wonder why we can't quiet our minds and actually turn off and rest and relax and rejuvenate. We have all become addicted to the external, addicted to doing, addicted to proving our worth, to validating ourselves. And again, this is not just an individual problem, this is a planetary one. And the same way we extract from ourselves, we extract from Earth itself. We are burning out as a species, and so is this planet at a very rapid rate. We are constantly running on fumes, individually, culturally, ecologically, and beyond. And the way which we are living is not sustainable. It is actually unnatural because we are working against the rhythms of ourselves, of nature, and which we are one of the same, nature and us. There is no separation. And so this is a call, this is a clarion call to all of those listening to really tune in here and to assess in the ways in which you are perpetuating this lifestyle of hyperactivity, of hyperproducing, of all of these things that we're talking about, and to bring yourself back into balance, which I'm going to do at the end of this video and give you a very short, simple practice to bring you back into harmony with yourself. So for myself personally, most of my life, I, like everybody else, thought doing was the answer. So what did I do? I went to school. I got the job. I got the master's degree. I did all the things. I climbed the corporate ladder. I did, got the next achievement, the next accomplishment. But where did that leave me? Well, like most people, we realize that we are not our accomplishments. We are not our achievements. And even after the success, the clients, all the output, all the things that look good on paper, I was left feeling empty, lost, feeling confused, feeling stuck. And because I tied all of my worthiness as a badge of honor, to what I did, all of my identity, everything was tied up in my performance, in my providership, in the way I produced. And of course, I was praised for this, but inside I was exhausted. I was disconnected. I was unfilled. And it wasn't until my nervous system began to crash, I finally saw the truth that I had been living from survival and not from alignment. I had internalized the system in which this kept me in this perpetual mode of chasing. And, this for me was something that I called like my purpose, that the more that I achieved, the more I did, well, then of course, then I'd be rewarded in this way. And so we're constantly in this loop in which, and just look at it, the way in which we hustle, we grind, we scroll, we consume. It's the same way in which we are actually treating this planet and this earth. And so it's time to rewire and recalibrate all of this entire narrative. And this has taken me many years to go through this deep cellular transformation in which I can actually live my life from a more balanced, harmonious place. And will I say I'm perfect all the time? No. There's times I get stuck in these modes. But I realize the signals of when I'm stuck in these modes, when life comes in to intervene and kind of like hits the pause button. Hits the pause button on the creation, on the programs, on the courses of all the things that I'm doing in my business and so forth, and says, all right, it's time to stop for a moment. It's time for you to rest and to recalibrate. And through these moments of surrender and recalibration, I get to implement this then into my everyday living. But again, it's a process because our nervous systems have been deeply conditioned, programmed, and imprinted on a very, very deep energetic level. And, we're not going to get away from away with this any longer because there is a rise of energy on this planet. And that energy is the feminine. We've been very much living in the shadow cycle of the masculine, but now we get to shift into the gear of the feminine. And when I speak of the feminine, I'm not speaking about gender. I'm not speaking about sex. I'm speaking about the principles, the very principle of energy that governs this entire universe and the creation of this universe, the masculine and feminine energies. And when I say the rise of the feminine, we are being called within all of us into a greater state of stillness, of trust, of surrender, of flow, where we can do the same thing through effort, through will, and through all the things we've been doing, but at what cost? Because all of this is actually going to create way more stress. And of course, that then leads to dis-ease, to illness, to us no longer being in these bodies anymore because we died at an early age from grinding ourselves into our gravestone. And so this right now, and what we are being asked to do is to shift into a state of coherence where everything changes, where being comes first before doing, because all of creation happens actually in being first, by listening, by breathing, by feeling, by receiving. And then from there, we implement the healthy version of the masculine to create the structures and the systems from that inspired highest state of joy and aliveness, not from greed, not from this place of I need to get more, prove more, validate more, but from a place of true servitude, true leadership. And think about that. We are not human doings, we are human beings. And in fact, beyond that, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so let's rest first in being and then come into the doing from a very aligned place. So what I invite you to do now, what I invite you to do is to ground into a practice, a very short 5 to 7 minute practice with me in this moment. And we're going to come back home into our bodies, back into a place of alignment, into a place of flow. So if you haven't done so already, closing down your eyes. And of course, if you're driving, you can pause this video and do this later, but finding a comfortable space for you to come within for a moment. Space where you can disconnect from the outer world and connect to your inner world. And if you feel called, you can place one or both hands on your body, maybe one on the belly, one on the heart. This is a way of attunement, to attune with your energy in this very moment. And now I'd like to invite in a slow, steady inhale through the nose, breathing in. And breathing out with a sigh. Again, breathing in. And breathing out with another sigh. We're going to come back to a deeper rhythmic breath here in a moment. But in this meantime, I want you to tune in and scan through your body. As you ground into this space, scan your body. Notice where you're holding any level of tension, tightness, strain, constriction, resistance, stress, anxiety, fear. Slowly breathe and tune in with what's alive and what's present in your body temple in this very moment. What do you notice? What do you observe? What do you feel? And as you might pick up on a few subtle or very apparent sensations in the body, I want you to now place your hand wherever those sensations may lie in your body. And I want you to intentionally, consciously breathe into that area and really breathe deep into your roots, into your navel, into your belly, and feel the energy moving and being directed into that area of tension, stress, anxiety, and so forth. And as you breathe life force into that area, just notice and observe how some of that begins to reside, to release, to be let go of. And if you notice more than one area, breathe into the other area and breathe deep. Breathe rhythmically in through the nose, out through the mouth, receiving this renewal of energy as you breathe in, and exhaling, letting go everything that has been stagnant in your body. And just simply notice how a few conscious breaths can change and shift your state. Allowing you to come into a deeper level of presence, of peace, of clarity. And continue this breath, breathing through the whole body from head to the toe, or from the toes up to the head. And just feel the circulation of pranic energy in and out, in and out. And realize that at any moment you can pause, you can breathe and come into this place of stillness where you're no longer in the patterns, in the behaviors, the distractions that are limiting you, but open yourself up to receive something deeper, which is your own soul's guidance, your own intuition. As all the wisdom lies in the breath and the body. And doing this multiple times a day will begin to rewire and reset your nervous system, one that is in coherence, in harmony, in balance. And you may want to repeat these words. It is safe to relax. I am safe to relax. I am enough, just as I am. I am enough, just as I am. I am whole and complete in this very moment. I am whole and complete in this very moment. And just continue to breathe and feel as you upgrade your state of being. And when you feel ready, when you feel called, you can begin to just come back into the space. You can open your eyes and just begin to notice how you've shifted in just a very short amount of time. Of course, if you'd like to go deeper with these practices. You can download the Beats and Breath app, which is my breathwork app. We have over 100 breathwork journeys on there that will really bring you into these deep and profound states of being, using the power of breath and sound in a very unique and modern way. And if you want to go deeper into my teachings, you can join the Self Mastery Collective. This is a membership community to support your healing, your growth, and your evolution. And we go deep into various teachings. There's courses, workshops, interviews, and more. And if you like this video, then of course subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and I will see you guys soon. Sending you much love and positive energy. Peace.